it's not. Good thing I looked. Okay. So let me do that again. Sorry, guys, I had myself on mute. So for 1 through 4, you're going to reference the bottom of page 1 in the notes. And for 5 through 12, you are going to reference the top of page 2. Okay. These next 2 problems right here, you are going to reference these 4 problems. They're very similar to these 4 problems again, right here. So just put bottom of page 1. But long story short, and I'll do the same thing I did for the first block. What do you guys think you're going to do to the f of x equation? What do you guys think that 3, here's the f of x equation. What do you guys think you're going to do to the f of x equation since there's a 3 in front of it? Yeah. So you will multiply or distribute the 3 into the f of x equation. And then once you're done with that, what do you guys think you're going to do? Hint, I'm going to highlight it. After that, what do you think you'll put in the back of that? Hint, I highlighted in red. Yeah, minus 2 to that equation. That I'll put that new equation. Okay. Now let's take a look at 14. What are you going to do with f of x and g of x to start? Good. So you're going to subtract g of x from f of x. Hint, make sure you use parentheses so that you remember to distribute a what? When you subtract, we have, good, distribute the minus sign, good. And then, what are you going to do to that new equation? Yeah, add 10 to like whatever you have now. So then you'll add 10 to the new equation. All right, so it takes care of the front page. And now let's scroll down on the notes here. I did the application of Kohl's, which is always true. They'll always take your cash off first, so they don't have to save as you don't get to save as much money. Instead of doing the percent and then the cash. Have you guys ever done that Kohl's cash? And then like a percent off? Yeah. And it doesn't matter which way you hand it to the person behind the counter, like the computer system will always take the Kohl's cash off and then do the 20%, 30%. All right. So can you guys see the similarity there between those? So you're going to do these 2 problems like you did problem 1 in the notes. I think it even says that. I'll just call that page 3 of notes. Page 3 in the notes. And so the big thing about 6-7, what was the big word in 6-7? The big word in 6-7? Inverse. Yeah. Inverse means, I don't want to use the word opposite because that isn't, like, inverse and opposite actually mean different things. Do you guys know who Miss Malloy is? Have you seen Miss Malloy in the school district? Anyway, this is neither here nor, no, this is actually very applicable. Today I walked in, I was like, Miss Malloy. She was wearing a flowered shirt. And I said, I have that exact pattern, except it's a pair of pants. And she had on navy blue pants. And then I had a moment. I was like, oh, I should have worn my flowered pants and a navy blue top. I'm teaching inverses today. We would have been inverses of each other because she has a flower top and navy blue pants. And I had flower pants and a navy blue top. It would have been amazing, but I didn't know. Anyway, inverse is a really big idea here. So you're going to find the equation of the inverse. It would be good, and hopefully you know. It's okay if you don't. Let's go ahead and discuss it. What is this? Is this linear, quadratic, or cubic? Linear. That means you could follow, look at this example right here. So that's the bottom of what page is this? I feel silly. Is that the bottom of page 3? No, that's the bottom of page 4. So for this one, follow the bottom of page 4 from the notes, because there's a linear example for you to follow down there. And now let's look at 18. What kind of problem is that one? Quadratic, because it has an x squared. So follow the middle, follow this one, the quadratic one in the note. So I'll say follow quadratic, follow, how about middle of page 3? No, that's page 4, sorry. And then, did I do one with parentheses? I didn't do one with parentheses. It's handled the same way. So you're going to do this very similar to the same. These two are kind of equivalent to each other. But like I said, around 12:30 today, we'll gather back together, and I want to do 20 with everyone. And then number 19 is another linear one. So you're going to do that one very similar to that other one. So you do linear, like I said, they kind of match. But what I really wanted to point out was that there's an example in the notes provided to every problem today. Before I pause my recording, I really would like you guys to all join the Zoom meeting. And I'm going to make some breakout rooms. Now, if you haven't taken the time to copy the notes, please don't join a breakout room. Please pull the notes up on the side and work on them. I'm going to let you guys join whatever room you want to join. And then what I can do is I'll be like the host on my board up there, but then I can jump around on my iPad to your different breakout rooms and see how everybody's doing. All right. Now, if you didn't do the notes, don't join the breakout room until you're ready to kind of do that side by side with them. So join whoever you want to join. I have 8 breakout rooms. So if you don't want to join anyone, go to your own breakout room. And then I can hop in and see how you're doing too. And let me pause this. So there's been some confusion with number 5. And to do number 5, what I want you to focus on first is just this G of 2. Focus on the inside. So back in chapter 2, how would you solve G of 2? Hint, you have to use the equation negative 2x minus 6 because that is the G equation. Good. You would get rid of your x and you replace it with what they tell you to replace it with. In this case, it's a 2. So what do you get? Negative 10. That's just the middle step. First block, they liked it when I said this. Negative 10 becomes your new x that you plug into the other equation they indicate. What's the other equation they indicate? F. So now we'll do f of negative 10. So now you have to use this equation because it's the f equation. But what am I going to do with my x's? Yep, substitute negative 10 in. Use parentheses, okay? What'd you get? It's huge. There you go. Once you get to numbers 11 and 12, you do the same thing, but it's weird. You're not substituting a number in, you're substituting a variable in, so it gets a little wonky. I have seen number 4 give some people some trouble. So the G of x equation is x squared. And the f of x equation is 7x plus 5. And it's important to note that these do not reduce. Would you grab the door for me, please? They're about to get loud. Thanks. So that is the new equation. That's very similar to the one in the notes. What is the type of equation? That's from this exponent up here. What is the type? Quadratic. And I'm pretty sure the one in the notes was also a quadratic. I tried to give you a very similar one. Now, the domain in the notes, what did I say? This one. The domain in the notes, what was the domain? It had except. Yeah, in the notes, it said except -1. But there was a reason -1 was no good. Why was -1 no good? Who remembers? Not quite. You can't, it's not a negative in the denominator that makes it blows up. The denominator can't equal, what was it? 0. So what we need to focus on is, okay, if 7x plus 5 is my denominator, it's not allowed to be 0. What if I subtract 5 and divide by 7? X is not allowed to be oh, you can't see that, sorry. X is not allowed to be negative 5/7. So the domain is all real numbers. I just really had trouble saying that, didn't I? The domain is all real numbers. However, because we have a denominator, you would have to say like, oh, my denominator is not allowed to be 0. What would make my denominator 0? Negative 5/7. So that's how you handle that one. Number 11 and 12, instead of getting an answer that's a number, you're going to get an answer that's an equation. Because this right here says leave x as x. Don't make it 1, don't make it 2, don't make it negative 5. Leave x alone. So we're going to start with what equation? Should we start with G or F when we see this symbol? F. This is a symbol called composition. Please make sure you understand it's not a multiplication sign. It is a composition sign. All right, so we're going to take F, but we're going to leave x as x. So wasn't it 2x cubed? Was it plus 5x minus 3? Okay. So if I leave x as x, it's done because I can't put any of this together. That's done. So now I'm going to take this red box and put it into the G equation. Well, the G equation was, I'm not even going to write, like here, I'll try to space it out. The G equation is, you're going to put this into the G equation. There you go. I'm just going to use the arrow because that's crazy. What was the G equation? Was it negative 2? All right. So look how I spaced that out. The reason I'm spacing that out so much is because this x is going to go away. Whoops, not the 2. And instead of x, you're going to put in this box. Can you do anything with that? You can distribute your negative 2. Can you do anything else with that? Okay, and what do those 6s make? Yeah, they cancel. Yeah, if they made like 12, I would write 12. If they made 2, I would write 2. So in 11 and 12, problems 11, you're not going to get a number for an answer. You're going to get an x for an answer. Or an equation. I said that funny. You're going to get an equation for an answer. I had a student point out, yeah, I must have been talking too much. This squared should be a cubed from up above. Good catch. When you see the word inverse, you have got to remember that means switch x and y. And step 2, solve for what? Solve for y. You need, I'm going to quiz you on that tomorrow. Those 2 steps are huge. Switch x and y, solve for y. So right here, instead of writing y, what do we write? Then bring down the equal sign. Then bring down a parenthesis. But instead of x minus 1, what do you bring down? Good. That's the first step. Now, on the homework checks, when I grade problems like this, people think this is enough. What did they not do? They switched x and y. They didn't swalve. I just said swalve. They didn't solve for y. So y is trapped. Hey, P.S. I know a lot of you think you can, but you cannot distribute that squared in there. That is not an okay mathematical operation if it's like a subtraction or addition sign. So before you say distribute your squared, one of you is going to do it anyway. How do we get rid of the squared? That's right. So I'm going to draw a square root over here. I'm going to Draw a square root over here. This is why we did chapter 6, section 5. So what is the square root of x? It's just the square root of x. However, in chapter 6, section 1, I told you that when you're solving and you take a square root, you need to use plus and minus. And I'm sure you all remembered that. And I'm sure when we did 6-1, I'm going to say this is going to come back to bite us in the butt if we don't remember our plus and minuses. So when you had to draw a square root, please use plus or minus. What does that equal over here? Just like it did in chapter 6, section 5. It drops the squared. Now, y is not by itself, but at least there's a simple operation to get y by itself. Add 1, good. You cannot put these two things together. Please don't try. So you get 1 plus and minus the square root of x equal y. That's the equation. Tonight you're going to learn that you note that with a -1 like that. That denotes that it's the inverse function. Now that all that is, guys, is the equation. That's not the graph. Yeah, but before you say how do we graph that, I have a question. How do you graph this one? How do you graph the original? You could plug it into your calculator. Is this going to be a straight line or a U shape? It is. And is this in vertex form or standard form? Or vertex form, right? It's in vertex form. That would be linear. Why is this in vertex form? Because it's inside parentheses. This is in vertex form. Chapter 4's back. Because it's in vertex form, it's very easy to see your vertex, which is +1, 0. It's opposite of the inside. And a couple of numbers bigger, a couple of numbers smaller, and now plug them in. So use this equation and plug in those numbers. So if you plug in -1, what do you get? And you're plugging in right here for that yellow X. I hear 2 lovely ladies saying 4. That's because -1 minus 1 is -2, and -2 squared is 4. What if you plug in 0? What if you plug in 2? You get 1. What if you plug in 3? 4. Let's plot those. Uh-oh. What am I not doing well? What? Oh, there, I missed that dot. There we go. Like, I am not doing something well, but I'm okay. Is this a quadratic or a linear? Quadratic. I said that funny too. It's a quadratic. Now, the question becomes, how do we graph that one? Yeah, you don't need to do any fancy math. You just have to flip your XY chart. And plot those points. These ones can make people's heads spin when they try to plot these points. It looks like you're doing it wrong at first. It started as a parabola. It ends up as a plus or minus square root. I'll say that again because I think it's worth hearing. It starts as a parabola. It ends up as a plus or minus square root. Is the green one a function? Yes. Is the red one a function? Is the red one a function? Yes or no? I hear a lot of question marks in the air right now. They're very loud. Your question marks are very loud. Does the red one pass the vertical line test? No. So the original one, yes. The inverse, no. Now, if you guys were to graph the most basic y equals mx plus b equation, look at this yellow line. Everybody see that yellow line? Wow, no. Let's try again. Does everybody see this orange line? If you could pick up your iPad and fold it on that orange line, would you see this dot would fold into this dot? This dot would fold into this dot. This dot would fold into this dot, and this dot would fold into this dot. You guys are packing up, but I have one more thing I want to tell you about number 20. If you want to verify if you're correct, plug 4 in. Watch. Pretend this, you don't have to write this on yours, just watch mine. 1 plus or minus the square root of 4. What is the square root of 4? So that's 1 plus or minus 2. What is 1 plus 2? That's because 4, 3 is a point. What's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. That's why 4 and negative 1 is a point. Listen, guys, hold on. Don't stand up. Just let me finish. I only have one more thing I need to say. These 3 right here are identical to problems in the notes. So there should be no reason when they're not done and submitted. Yes, yes? All right. The 2 on the top are silly easy based on the ones on the notes. Just switch, swap, and replot. Switch, swap, and replot. I like that. All right. What does that say? Do you want to stop cloud recording?